What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So it was actually a pretty busy day yesterday, and it was a very weird day yesterday as we found out some kind of annoying news about Mario Maker 2 that we're going to go over here, and I do hope Nintendo fixes it because I think it really hurts the online for Mario Maker 2, like, heavily. But we'll talk a bit about that, and actually Nintendo's response as to why this is happening. And then we're also going to talk about the Pokemon conference that took place last night, because there's Pokemon Sleep, apparently. There were some other cool announcements too, but yeah, Pokemon Sleep. That's a thing. As always, guys, enjoy these videos. Make sure to like button, it does help out, and get subscribed as we get towards E3. We're gonna get a lot of days like these. There's just a lot of stuff to go over. We're actually going to start today with Sea of Solitude. Do you remember this game from last year? It was part of EA's, like, their originals, where they kind of work with indie developers and help them get their games out there, which I think is, to be honest, kind of a way for EA to scout the talent as well. And it does appear that all profits go to the indie developers, and it kind of shows because these are very different, we'll say that, games than what EA generally makes, but we do have a release date on it. It's actually coming out pretty soon, July 5th. It's going to launch on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC, and if Unravel 2 tells us anything, it'll probably follow on the Switch later on. It does seem to be up to the indie game developer if they want to move it over. But I remember the game itself really stuck out. It was this really interesting looking, the way that they were describing it was supposed to be like you feel like you're alone, but the visual style and everything was really cool. A little creepy too, I will say that, but at least is interesting. And again, it was on EA stage, so it just looked way different than, FIFA and Madden and all of their games there. Oh, also, we've had all of these rumors for Witcher 3 going around for the Switch. I mean, this is one of the biggest rumors so far going to E3 for the Nintendo Switch when it comes to third-party games. Well, what's interesting is it actually blew up on Reddit that there was a rumor that Panic Button was actually the company that was going to be porting the game over in accordance with CD Projekt Red. And it blew up on Reddit, tons of comments, and the one that really matters is the one actually from a representative at Panic Button. It actually reads, as you're seeing here with the post like this: "Why didn't anyone tell us we were supposed to be porting that? If so, we're way behind. Seriously though, we are not working on The Witcher 3. That's from Winston Pennypacker, who is a representative from Panic Button. So it doesn't look like Panic Button, at least from what they're saying, is working on Witcher 3. And honestly, I could see CD Projekt Red maybe doing it just straight up internally if they are getting help from Nintendo for publishing, or who knows, it could be an actual project that Nintendo is trying to work with CD Projekt Red to get done. So you don't necessarily need to bring in a studio, but hey, we've seen some interesting projects with Mortal Kombat 11 getting straight up done by a porting company we've never heard of, and hey, it worked out well. So you never know, but it does at least appear right now that Panic Button, if Witcher 3 is real, first of all, let's start with that, wouldn't be the company doing it. And if you're one of the many people who are hoping that Spyro Reignited Trilogy is coming to the PC or the Switch, well, good news for PC owners, as it does appear that it is coming to PC. Now, I also believe it's coming to Switch. I think that's actually going to be an E3 announcement, to be honest. But as you're seeing here, Nibble actually posted that it was shown on a Taiwanese ratings board, and it does appear that Iron Galaxy is actually the company that's going to be porting that one. Now, I believe they also helped with the Crash Insane trilogy for the PC, so it shouldn't really surprise anyone to see that. But of course, Spyro's gonna be very interesting, as it did have some frame rate issues, for example, and some resolution issues on the Xbox One, even the Xbox One X or the PlayStation 4 Pro. So it's gonna be kind of neat to see it there. I'm thinking if it has any kind of frame rate cap, that modders will just uncap it anyway, because that's usually what they do. With Mortal Kombat 11, we saw that, where they removed the 30 frames per second cap, only for NetherRealm to eventually show up and say, hey, we'll do that too. But I'm excited to see Spyro and everything on PC with some very powerful hardware. And then, of course, I'm also very curious to see it actually shown for the Switch. I'm not sure why it took longer than it did to get both of these platforms, the PC and the Switch, this game. However, it does seem like they were pushing it down to the wire, where they had delays at the last minute for the other platforms. So maybe they were just under a time crunch, and now we're getting the other platforms. And guys, some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're going to start right away with Mario Maker 2. This is a confusing, weird situation from Nintendo. So up until this point, Mario Maker 2 looks like a slam dunk. I still think it's going to be very good. I think it's going to sell well. And honestly, I think most people are still buying it despite the news that came out yesterday. And I'm not kidding when I say this. Nintendo is not going to allow you to play with your friends online. It's going to be specifically random gamers that you're going to play against. So I assume there'll be some kind of random matchmaking, and then you play different levels and everything, and then there's the leaderboards, all of that. It's a very odd situation. Now, Nintendo World Report actually was the first place that I saw that reported that this was happening, citing a Nintendo representative from the Treehouse, so a Treehouse representative. At that point, it sounds more than likely that is the case, but Game Explain went a bit further and actually got confirmation from Nintendo. In fact, they actually had a statement explaining why, saying, "This is true. As the game is now, you cannot create friend lobbies online. You can only play online with randoms. You could still get friends together and play with local play, and you're free to play with 4 players on one Nintendo Switch system. You can also still challenge your friends to your creations and take on their designs through course IDs and having them follow your maker profile." So first of all, good job Game Explain for getting all of that in the statement and everything. Second of all, terrible decision by Nintendo. Now they seem to cite that the leaderboards could be affected by this, and this is a terrible, terrible excuse. I don't know what happened here. This is so weird. You can't create your own friend lobbies and then just start firing up courses for everyone to run through. I mean, that sounds amazing, but we're not gonna be getting that. It's the weirdest thing I've seen. Now, I say leaderboards don't be affected because you could just have like a social game mode. So for example, let me just give you an example. I play Halo, Master Chief Collection quite a bit, and there are different modes for ranked and just social. You're just gonna go in there and just, not even try or play around or try different things. Or maybe some people even go in there and just practice with different weapons and stuff that they're not looking to actually rank or work against people who are a bit more skilled, for example, in the ranked modes. That's what they should do. They should have a ranked mode and then just an unranked, social mode. I don't get this. Making a friends lobby isn't a big deal, I don't think, and you just make it so that the only way you can play ranked matches is if you straight up matchmake by yourself. I don't understand any of this. Like, this is stuff that we've in the gaming world, they've conquered it since like back on the original Xbox when it comes to some of this stuff, right? I just don't get it. I don't know why this is the case, and unfortunately it does hurt Mario Maker 2, and everyone is confused as to why, and I really cannot give a good reason. Maybe Nintendo really just does not get online at all when it comes to stuff. I'm not sure, because every time they make a game that's really, really good, we then see them falter when it comes to the online play. Mario Party, so Super Mario Party was still, I think, a good Mario Party game, but man, that online is bad. Like, they really should have figured that out a bit more, and they haven't updated it, and now here we go with something like Mario Maker 2 that should have a very robust online, and it sounded like it would, but it's not going to with your friends. It's so weird. Course ID, of course, that just reminds me of friend code, so okay. I mean, Course ID is fine, it worked in the first one, but like, we're to the point now where they have the phone app. I mean, use the phone app if you have to. It's so weird. And then to kind of compound on top of that, do you know that stylus that is being released in the UK? It appears that it's not making its way out west to North America. Again, another situation I don't get. Now, that I think is less of a big deal because you can actually use, I would assume, any stylus that would work with something like an iPad. They're on Amazon. They're like 15 to 20 bucks. You can just buy one. So that's not a big deal. I don't even know if they're going to fix it down the road or add the ability to do so. And the reason I say that is because I figure they would have fixed Mario Parties online by now or done something extra to it, but they haven't. So I really don't have a lot of confidence currently in Nintendo and their online, like, at all, just to add to it. It's a shame because otherwise it looks like Mario Maker 2 is going to be an outstanding game. And I'm still picking it up, and I'm sure many of you are. But man, this is like really disappointing for a lot of us. And you know what? I do hope Nintendo fixes it because it's going to sell really well and it's going to be a lot of fun online. Next up, let's talk about the Contra Collection. Do you remember how we had this announced next to, we had this and then Castlevania, of course. I believe they have an arcades classic as well, but people were really looking at the Castlevania one, and Contra is awesome. Well, we got a full release list for it now, so we know all the different games. IGN had a large write-up with a big list here that you're seeing with Contra Arcade, Contra NES, which is really cool to see see that, by the way. Contra for the Famicom, Super Contra from the arcade, Super C from the NES, Contra 3, the Alien Wars, another good one there. Super Probotector, that's Alien Rebels for the Super Nintendo, Contra Hard Corps from the Genesis, another good one. Probotector from the Sega Mega Drive, and then Operation C on the Game Boy. So a lot of Super Nintendo, a lot of Sega Genesis, Mega Drive, and then NES thrown in there with a little bit of arcade, but really cool. This list looks great. Now, what's interesting about this, we know it's apparently coming out, the summer for $20. There was also, as you're seeing here, some retail listings, which threw me off. Are we getting physical Contra? Like, is that a thing? This is actually posted up by NetGames, and they have it there for, what's that, roughly $40 almost. Yeah, so interesting to hear that there could be some sort of physical edition for Contra. I would pick that up. I would have loved to have bought that Castlevania collection as a physical copy. Hint, hint, Konami. There's still time, by the way, to release that. But the fact to see Contra, that's really cool as well, if it is indeed coming out physical. As it stands now, it appears to be a $20 collection that we can expect anytime now, but it's definitely stacked, and that's exciting for Contra fans. Next up, let's quickly talk about Unity, because it does appear that Unity is now adding support for Labo VR, which means we could actually see some different companies create VR games for the Nintendo Switch when it comes to Labo, if they want to try to jump into that. See, that's the thing. I still think the install size for that is fairly small, so you might see some ports maybe come over that would work into that. I don't know if any one company developer is actually going to sit down and say, we're making this for Labo VR, because there are so many people playing Labo VR right now. But the fact that we see at least companies start to look at this and say, okay, I can make a VR game because Unity supports it. And apparently all previous Unity games can at least be compatible with VR. Whether or not that means their game would actually work in VR, that's another question. Otherwise, though, you might see some games start to at least leverage Labo VR. I'm curious how many people would get excited for a random Labo VR announcement. I just think it's kind of neat because we did see some games use like the piano, for example, from Labo. And honestly, Labo VR probably has the most potential out of all of the Labo kits to actually get some really cool experiences out of it. Obviously, it's a first iteration, so the screen for the Switch, low resolution, everything, I get that, but still, they could do some interesting stuff. We could get some more simplistic shapes and everything and try to clean it up that way. But otherwise, I'm at least curious to see what some of these developers could come up with. All right, and the last bit of news, let's talk about this Pokemon conference, because this is really funny. So you had to have seen this. I'm sure you saw this online last night. Maybe not even the conference, but online after the conference. Twitter exploded because they made some just weird announcements at this thing. It was so funny. So let's actually start right away. The Detective Pikachu is getting what appears to be a new game on the Switch. It'll have a different ending from the movie, is what they were saying, which is cool, or even the 3DS game. So that's neat for fans of Detective Pikachu that's played it on 3DS and now want a different experience on the Switch. That was great. That was just kind of announced quickly in the beginning, and then they moved on very rapidly after that. Now we jumped right to Pokemon Home. And when I heard this, I said, okay, this makes sense. This is what a lot of people were predicting would take place, is that we would get this very all-encompassing place to put your Pokemon. So we've had, of course, Pokemon Bank, for example, right? We already know about that one, but they showed a big diagram. It's a cloud-based service where pretty much everything can go to it. You have Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. They just show the Switch down there, of course, Sword and Shield, Pokemon Go, Pokemon Bank from the 3DS, and it all goes to Pokemon Home. They showed people on their cell phones, of course, using it and everything, where you can trade back and forth from that, it appeared. So that is a good idea. People are really excited and happy about that, and it just shows that they're forward thinking when it comes to Pokemon cloud-based services and cell phones and everything. So it's great to see that we'll have that going forward, because of course we're gonna get more Pokemon games, obviously probably every year or so. So it's gonna be something people are gonna use quite a bit. Now, they didn't talk anything else about it, subscription fees, anything like that, but I believe Pokemon Bank wasn't that expensive, so I don't think this would be that expensive either. And then things get weird after this. And okay, so Pokemon Sleep. What is Pokemon Sleep? Well, it appears to be them taking Pokemon Go and going to the next level, which instead of walking, it would then track your sleep through accelerometers in a new device. Now, this device I don't think is that new. Let me explain to you for a second, because Nintendo's actually been working on sleep monitoring systems or quality of life stuff for a while now. There were articles years and years and years ago about this, and honestly, I thought it was internally canceled, but I think this is it. I think this Pokemon Go Plus is their sleep monitoring device. That's right, they just put a little plus symbol on the end, so it's the Plus Plus. Okay, look, Pokemon games in general have never been very creative with their names. I mean, the Sword and Shield, right? So Plus Plus was kind of just like, all right, sure. This is actually going to sit on your bed, it appears, and then through accelerometers will actually track your sleep, and then somehow you will get something out of it. Again, not a lot of explanation here when it comes to what you will get or how it will all work together. They did say in June, so next month, we'll find out more information about how all this works together. But it is creative, I will say that. It's very creative. I'm also curious how, if you have a spouse, for example, or someone else that sleeps in your bed, how it will track, like, with them moving around. Because the idea is accelerometers and everything will track to see when you're in deep sleep and everything. This isn't really new. Fitbits and other devices for fitness tracking have been tracking your sleep for quite a while now. But interesting idea. And it's just, again, just the Pokemon Company, Nintendo and stuff, just trying out all kinds of weird stuff, but it does appear that they found something for their quality of life program. So I guess that's a win. We also very quickly saw a little bit more information about the DNA project with Pokemon and for the cell phone, and it looked interesting. Pokemon Masters, it showed all the different Pokemon trainers and gym leaders and everything kind of battling it out. A little bit of gameplay, looked kind of neat. Again, I need to see a little more about it, but it does appear that it's actually launching calendar year 2019. So not necessarily next fiscal year, but the calendar year. So interesting there. We'll see if we get any more information next month. Like they said, everything is next month. So we'll see. And we'll finish out with the comment of the day today. This one, as you're seeing, is from Expanded Sky saying, can we get a SIM card slot on the next Switch for true anytime, anywhere gameplay? We possibly could as 5G starts to really take off. As we did see, of course, the Vita play around with 3G, which that wasn't going to do much. Let's be real. I think Nier worked and a few other things, but for the most part, you weren't going to be doing much with it. But the Switch paired with 5G, the next Switch or the Switch after that or something, could be interesting. My question, though, is the subscription service makes it so that you can't always guarantee that your Switch is going to be online everywhere. So, of course, you're going to have to buy into that. Will people want to pay for that? And then their cell phone service and the internet at home? That is another question. Now, 5G is looking to really cover the US and everything. So there's a good chance that they could do that. And I think it would be great because then, like you're saying, an always online Switch, if you want it to be. I'm sure you could turn it off, airplane mode, all that stuff, but still a good idea, and I would like to see them do that in the future going into next generation. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about, whether it's Pokemon sleep, and what you think about that whole situation. If you're interested in having your sleep tracked and then equated to leveling up your Pikachu, let me know what you think about that one, definitely. Or maybe you like Pokemon Home or a new Detective Pikachu game. What do you think about Mario Maker 2 not allowing you to play online with your friends through lobbies or anything, all random matchmaking with just random players? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.